Last night, Malaysia Airlines flight MH17 went down on the eastern border of Ukraine. There are lots of theories abounding. Today, we're looking at three facets of that story. Hello, this is BFM's 89.9 seconds, and we're trying to give you the gist of the story in just under 90 seconds. I'm Lee Chui Lin, joined by Sharat Kutan and Melissa Idris. Amidst conflicting reports about what actually happened and who did what to whom, we have the issue of responsibility. Sharad.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has come out categorically denying Russian responsibility, and more than that, he says that ultimate responsibility lies with those who started the conflict. Who? In his mind, it's the Americans, it is NATO, those who funded...
It's always the Americans in his mind.
Well, no. I think in this case, he is actually correct.
No, but that's the long-term responsibility. So he's saying that, because you started this, it doesn't matter whose plane got shot down. There's a short-term responsibility that Putin, I feel, is absolving himself from.
Absolutely. So there's the immediate responsibility. It might be the pro-Russian forces in eastern Ukraine, but I think he has a point. And so I'm not completely sympathetic with him. I think he cannot deny that if they funded the pro-Russian forces, if they've armed them, if the actual armaments used
I find it particularly disheartening that he's using this as an opportunity not just to absolve himself, but to further his own cause that's been going on for...
Look at the Americans. Obama is going to use this opportunity to further his cause in Ukraine.
It doesn't matter. In my eyes, what was the weaponry that was used, the ground-to-surface, the ground-to-air missile launcher that was used, was Russian-made, was Russian-trained.
But
let's say responsibility is interesting. So they were responsible. What were their targets?
So for all you people watching the timer on that last story, you might have noticed we were a little more under 90 seconds than we're accustomed to. But for all you pedants watching the show, I'd also like to point out that's the premise. Moving on, another issue that's come up has been the flight path. Should we have been flying over a conflict zone? Melissa?
Exactly. Aviation authorities said it was safe to fly. It wasn't a no-fly zone. But should commercial airlines have changed their flight path given the conflict?
It's worth pointing out that we weren't the only people who didn't change the flight path. It was a very, very busy flight path. There were tons.
Yeah, it could have happened to any airline. But the fact is, it did happen to MAS. Secondly, I think as a passenger, I would like airlines to go the extra mile. And avoid,
I don't know
just a week, in the last 2 weeks, 2 airplanes have been brought down by precisely the groups they're now pointing a finger at. Right? And so should they have reconsidered it?
But there's the commercial airline component of that, though. Do we want the costs to come to us?
No, but still, aviation authorities said it was okay to fly. It had never happened to a commercial airline
at that altitude.
They were flying at a safe altitude.
Well, safe is very interesting because what we know of the technology is it can reach to those levels and higher. So the question is, why wasn't that part of the calculus of safety?
To be fair, I don't think people thought that technology was going to be in the hands of the people firing that particular weapon at that point in time.
And also, why would they feel unsafe? They had no reason to feel unsafe flying in an airline, and they're not targeted.
Well, I think ultimately with airlines, cost is very important, and that seems to override any other consideration. And and would you fly MAS now? I mean, do you feel safe flying MAS?
It could have happened to any other airline. No airline in the world is missile-proof.
Our last story is an exploration of exactly how much information is coming our way. As often happens in stories like this, we're just completely inundated, and I don't know if it's helpful. Do you guys think it's helpful?
Well, for one, I know there was a lot of information there last night, but I want it to be thrown at me. Maybe I'm a news junkie like that. I want you to give me every kind of conceivable conspiracy theory, every kind of analyst
because you're a professional. One, I think there's a question of whether everybody out there can handle all this information. Two, it's the nature of the overload. A lot of it is about conspiracies.
It's a 24-hour news cycle.
It's usefulness and it's responsibility. That was my issue. Are we disseminating information in a way that's responsible to,
But who determines that responsibility?
Absolutely. That's where my fears are. I don't want government to determine
exactly. I want to make that decision myself.
I understand that. And yet the sheer barrage of information was so troubling. I mean, first it was Ukraine saying, no, it's not us. Then it was Russia saying, no, it's not us.
But then we get to decide. You tell us.
Do we, though?
We do, because we're given all the information as limited as it is at this point in time.
We can put filters
fun.
on our own social media, right? But I think the other issue was people appealing to others to perhaps not put pictures up of victims,
families. Yes, that's right. Yeah.
putting up pictures that weren't verified. There was somebody I read who said, if it doesn't come out in The Guardian, I'm not retweeting
No, but see, that's the
it.
thing, right? There were all these images coming up, and they all had that little unverified
Yeah,
thing.
it
But
was
who's
very
watching?
disconcerting.
Who notices that? Or are people
Very
watching this and thinking,
Well, it's the
oh,
nature
I
of
know
the
what's
beast.
happening?
It is the nature of social
Is that
media
okay?
and contemporary media. Well, it's not a question of okay.
And that concludes this week's installment of BFM's 89.9 Seconds. If you have any comments, please leave them in the box below. If you'd like more videos like this, please subscribe to video.bfm.my. And lastly, our thoughts are with the families of those on board MH17. Thank you for watching.